Yes, people, welcome back to the Tactic Talk podcast. Bit of a different setup this time round, not joined by the likes of Luke and Jack. We've actually got an online interview today. So the guest in question has racked up 40,000 followers across Instagram and Twitter. He's only 17 years old, but his opinions have been acclaimed by the likes of Ferdinand and Matthijs Ligt. He does brilliant analytical work and helps the average football fan understand the concepts like XG, XA, and XT. His deep dive into statistics is well respected amongst social media football fans, and understandably, in the future, he wants to get into data analytics and football analysis at professional football clubs. I sit down with Gasipo Opinions and discuss some of his work. Make sure to follow his socials in the links below, and don't forget to subscribe to the Tactic Talk podcast. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question I wanted to ask, mate, is, of course, you're in Canada. I'm not sure what the football culture is like in Canada, but how did you actually get into football? Or is it soccer that you'd call it?
Yeah, right now, football was they call it soccer here. It's getting more and more popular, but not so much when I was a little kid. But I was lucky that my father he used to like football. He was an exception, so that's where my father showed me how to play football. He got me into World Cup matches 2014. So that's how I got interested.
All right, okay. And who is it that your dad supported that got you into it?
My dad supported France because he lived there for a year or two when he was a child, and that's where he started getting interested into football. But he didn't support a specific club.
And then what about your friends and like the culture around Montreal? Like, is that a very football heavy culture? Like, is everyone into it?
Yeah, it's the two most popular sports here are football and hockey. So I think it's pretty even now, or maybe football is even more popular. But um, I did go to a French school, and most people there uh, used to play football because they had the French culture. But generally, it's like my sister went to a school with Canadians, and most people prefer hockey than football.
And what about yourself then? So when you got into it because of your dad, how did you then make your next steps? Like, what was the in between part between you getting into football and then making a Instagram or Twitter page? Like,
Yeah.
in between.
Well, I always felt that I had something more to say than the average social media discourse. But before 2019, probably, I didn't even think about posting anything. I just enjoyed football like an average football fan. But yeah, when I started getting more active on Instagram, um, I I was only 14 years old, but I knew that I had something more interesting to say than the others. And at 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 first, I was only asking big accounts like DFO, like to just post my opinions on their story.
Yeah.
And from there on, actually, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was writing threads for him,
Right. Okay.
but I didn't have my own account for DFO, for Debatable Football Opinions.
Before compelling football threads or Gasipo opinions took off, was it from your personal account that you're doing it from?
Yeah, but actually, it's at first it was the backup of Company Football Opinions, CFO,
Oh,
because he messaged me because he found one of my threads interesting, and he wanted me to manage his backup.
is that Augustine that messaged you?
Augustine is DFO, yeah,
All right. So
but
which account is it that messaged you?
CFO, Company Football
Oh,
Opinions.
right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
It was very good at the start, and after a while, I made it my personal account. Gasipo opinions. But yeah, that's why before the name was Accompanying Football Threads, because it had to be similar to Accompanying Football Opinions.
All right, okay. That's perfect. So when you started getting your personality across and it became Gasipo Opinions, um, I remember the icon being Pjanic for quite a while. I just wanted to ask,
Oh
what's
yeah, on Twitter.
Pjanic?
Oh well, Pjanic. Well, I was a Juventus fan when I was younger for no specific reason. And I think it was around 2014. I just came I just saw a random game of Juventus and Roma, and I just really when Pjanic was playing for Roma, and I really liked him, and I started making more research into who he was. I liked him as a player, but when he joined Juventus to replace Pogba in 2016, that's where I got really invested, and I just you see is it's the type of players that I really like to watch. Calm, tempo controlling midfielders,
Yeah.
uh, like him, like Busquets, like Parejo. They're my favorite type of midfielders. So yeah, I really like watching him play just because of how beautiful I think his position is, and also because he played for Juventus. So yeah,
So that gets me into the next part of the conversation. These types of players, when you first start watching football, most people look at like, the Cristiano Ronaldos, the Messis, the ones that stand out. You
yeah.
to the more niche players, and your account is very much a more like in-depth look at football than say like a regular football account is. When did the football analysis come? When did you realize you thought, oh, like I'm analyzing football here in a different way to what other people would?
Yeah, so around 2020, when I first started posting my opinions, um, yeah, I didn't want to do a classic account of just posting goals or videos that will get a lot of views. But also, I had an interest for deep statistics because I always liked objectiveness, and it just naturally came to me. Also, also I have a specific interest for niche topics, so that's why I'm also interested into older football. Sometimes I like to do things that others don't do too much. Yeah,
One thing that you did do was I remember you started the Maradona
yeah,
um, project that you did. I
yeah,
was going to ask what was the inspiration behind that, and that was like would you say that was your first big project that you took on?
yeah, probably. But a year
And
before
what that
that,
is as well. Sorry.
I did a I did a project on Garincha,
Right. Okay.
just counting his dribbles from the 1962 World Cup.
Yeah.
So I did a similar thing for Maradona, except that it was way bigger and for way more matches. So that was my own inspiration. But I just felt that football that I lacked for older players, and some people just don't know enough about what happened. They just know about the big trophies, the World Cup. Uh, if you ask people about Garrincha and Maradona, apart from 1986 for Maradona and 1962 for Garrincha, most people won't know what to say much. So yeah, the goal was especially for his early time in Argentina, Maradona, uh, before he joined Barcelona. Most people don't know about his career there, so I really like to analyze those games and count the statistics for people to know more about him.
That's perfect. And then you moved on to another big project recently. It was the Messi versus Ronaldo
Yeah.
art. For those who don't know what that is and haven't read the article, how would you describe it, like in a quick abstract?
So most people have opinions on football, but the reality is that a lot of those opinions are influenced by other factors that you can't control, and it is a case for the Messi versus Ronaldo debate, where a lot of factors such as a lot of geo-demographical factors such as politics, religion, place of birth, and also your opinion on how you watch football. They will those factors will change how you view Messi Ronaldo as the best, even though you don't have control on them.
From that, I've got a little part from your article here. From that, you went and conducted a survey collecting exactly 2,000 answers and asking 19 questions, mixing football opinions like trophy logic or Messi versus Ronaldo with life opinions such as political ideology or abortion and living conditions like family, wealth, and ethnicity. Just for the viewers that might not know.
Yeah, yeah, those were the questions.
Yep. And I just want to go into your actual study and just some in-depth questions here. Um, some interesting results that you got. If you want to correct me if I get anything wrong, um, just about the football logic part. You said that Ronaldo fans were more likely to consider legacy and victories more important than Messi fans,
Yeah.
and uh, just the football logic about on-ball ability being less essential for Ronaldo fans than Messi fans. The question I had based off the football logic part was what percentage of football fans do you think view not just these players, but football players objectively and try separate their biases and their ideologies? Like, what level of fans do you reckon look at football objectively?
Well, I think that pure objective football fans is it's a pure objectiveness. It is impossible to achieve.
Yeah,
I think 0%.
zero
I
percent.
think you can, yeah, even me, even you. I think you can try to get better and better, but it's impossible to completely separate yourself from your pre-acquired beliefs.
Yeah.
But if you mean like more reasoned people, I think on social media, uh, probably 5%
Right.
that can have a proper, reasonable opinion.
And where would you rank yourself on that percentage scale?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, I I I think in terms of bias and logic, that's where I'm most proud of. So I think I'm among the best. However, it doesn't mean that I have the necessarily the best knowledge of the game, but in terms of pure, like I said, bias and logic problems, I think that maybe I'm the 1%. I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask as well. I put a note here that it links to the conspiracist aspect of your article as well. For those who don't know, what does that part of the article entail?
Yeah. So conspirationists are people who tend to have who think that well the term is a bit derogatory from the start, so most people don't want to affiliate with that. But basically, a conspiracy theorist is someone who thinks that the government or the big media always lies to us. So the goal of the correlation was to find between Messi and Ronaldo which fan base basically thinks that the media or government or the big people words were false. And the study, this was actually one of the strongest correlations. The study found that Ronaldo fans tend to be more conspiracy theorists.
Right, okay.
I think it was 25% versus only 11% of Messi's fans.
I thought that was a very interesting result, along with
Yeah,
the political aspects, because all of it links together, and you showed that in the mind maps, the flow charts at the end of the article. Um, one of the larger, I don't know how to describe it, the green ones, do you know, the large
yeah,
ones? One of the larger um, factors was the political ideology and religious ideology. For an average person looking at it, they'll be like, what's politics and religion got to do with my opinions on football? What would you say
yeah.
politics and religion have to do with football opinions?
Yeah, it's a hard topic to analyze because it was very hard to write the article without trying to sound um, controversial on these topics. Most people will ignore it because those are such different aspects of football. No one will think to link Christianity and Messi, Ronaldo. So
Yeah.
basically, the main factors uh, linking religion and political ideology to Messi and Ronaldo is the well. Also, in the article, I talk about how right-sided people also tend to be more religious, and left-sided people tend to be less religious.
Yeah.
So if we take those two parts, right-sided people and religious people tend to be more interested into the story of the players, how hard it was for them to get into success. Um, and as Ronaldo is often considered more of a hard worker than Messi, even though it doesn't matter if it's the truth or not, but what most people say is that Messi is a talented guy and Ronaldo is a hard worker. So that's one of the main reasons. Also, religious people and right-sided people uh, tend to be more influenced by stories, by legacy, and hence, which is also linked with trophies. So uh, an inspiring career path is filled with trophies, but Ballon d'Ors, Champions League, and well, it's very different now because of the World Cup. But before the World Cup, Ronaldo had more Champions League and big trophies, so that's why people who rate trophies, hence who are more religious and right-sided people, will tend to rate Ronaldo higher than Messi.
That's perfect. For those that haven't seen the article, I don't want to ruin all the results, so they can still read the article. I have linked it down in the description of the YouTube video, and I'll link it in the Spotify video as well. Park that subject for now and sort of lean into the stats versus eye test debate. Of course, you described yourself as say like a 1% objective person in terms of football opinion. How important is the eye test for you if you consider yourself more objective?
Yeah. So I used to talk about a lot about the eye test versus statistic debates, but before treating, we need to define what is statistics, because what most people don't know is that at first we had only but at first like 5 years ago we had only goals or assists, which is pretty basic, and the people who wanted to get it further, they brought models like um, other progressive stats, expected threats, expected assists, tons of new statistics to value more, to rate more than just the final action. So now on social media, you still see sometimes people say that players like Verratti or Thiago uh, uh, are more than stats, but it's pretty ironic because those players have the most brilliant progressive stats in the world. So that's what you need to define first. And my personal stake on the if you consider statistic as all statistics, so you take progressive stats into account. Um, as I test, it just it's always better than statistics to watch the game. Statistics aren't meant to uh, to be better than the eye test. They're just meant to try and draw a quick conclusion of a player. It's just to save time on analysis. No scout will ever buy a player just because he has great expected threat.
Yeah.
But what he may use is that he will see the players who are doing good in specific areas of statistics, and then he may watch them to properly analyze what they bring onto the pitch. So I don't think it's much. It's a. I don't think it should be a debate between both. It just both should be used in their own strength, and even the biggest statistic lovers shouldn't try to think that just because a player is getting certain stat is necessarily better than the other. And on the other side, someone who will a statistic can just claim that every statistic is useless and only his own eyes show the truth. Also, another aspect of this debate is that, like I said before, I like being objective, and that's what statistics do. Is that every player is given a specific statistic that you cannot change. So, but after a game, if you ask 10 people to rate a certain player, none of them will give him the same match rating, for example. So, it's just a way to try to eliminate that bias. Um, Even though, like I said, it isn't perfect.
That's a perfect answer. I was just gonna add to that in terms of what they're used for statistics. It's almost like the blueprint for your opinion that you want on a player. They sort of put the structure in terms of opinion, and then you sort of use your eyes to confirm what the stats are already telling you.
Yeah.
So that's just my little 2p on that. You mentioned expected threat in the last part that you
Mm,
did. I know that you did an in-depth post on expected threat when it was starting to be used more frequently across social media. I think the more average football fan might have started hearing about XG and XA now, but if you tell them
mm,
what's XT, they'll probably look at you and be like, "There's another one."
yeah.
Do you briefly describe expected threat to an average football fan that hasn't heard of it?
So, most people know about expected goals and expected assists right now because it got more popular in social media. But the problem with those two statistics is that they only rate the final impacts of a player, so their action close to the penalty box. So the goal of expected threats, or XT, is to see what the players do to bring the ball forward the most. So it can be a final pass, it can be a pass into the penalty area, but it can also be a pass from the defense to the wing or to the midfield. And how expected threat is calculated is that every single zone on the pitch is given a value based on the its dangerosity of scoring from it. So, for example, in the penalty box, the scores are high versus in the middle of the pitch, the scores are low. So, what expected threat does is that if a player brings the ball from a low quality zone to a high quality zone, it will get credited with a expected threat. So, this is why it's more it brings a different view to rating players than expected assist.
Yep. So that wraps up pretty much the main bulk of the questions. I just wanted to talk about something that's happened within the last year, I believe. You got recognised by Rio Ferdinand and the likes of Stephen Howson and Vibe with Vibe, and I'm not sure if you've been recognised by others. How is it like being recognised for your work that you're doing?
It's very nice to hear that. Rio Ferdinand actually followed me on Instagram, I think 1 year and a half ago, and I had some very basic chat with him in DMs, but
Crazy.
nothing crazy.
Yeah,
Just
that's crazy in itself.
he just said that he liked my work, but
Yeah,
yeah. Also, another player who followed me and still follows me is Matthijs de Ligt,
mad.
and but I haven't sp spoke with him. Just just nice to see that he sometimes likes my posts and etc. But what you're talking about, I think, is the Vibe with Five podcast. So this was very good because it was on their own podcast and public podcast. Um, this uh, this is very good to hear, but technically it doesn't bring me anything more from both a follower's standpoint and also an analytical uh, point of view. So it's good for the ego, and I will always enjoy those moments, but I don't take them too much into account to not fall into over gratification. I'd prefer getting a DM from a professional analyst to get me somewhere than let's say Rio Ferdinand on the podcast. Even though I really appreciate that. Yeah.
One of the last questions to round it up was just where do you see yourself professionally taking your work, and what do you want to do in the future with what you've been getting up to?
Yeah. Well, so far on my account, even though it's been a long time that I have it, I didn't do much pure tactical analysis. So that's what I'd like to do in the close future, like the next weeks or months. And from then on, I'll try to get into a local club as an analyst, video analyst. I already got into contact with a few people working at clubs to ask them about uh, their career paths, their experience, and this helped me a lot into what I want to do in the future. I also spoke, the website Soccerment, the main provider of exploited threats today, and basically, yeah, I had a talk with them and uh, also very encouraging stuff for my future. They gave me good advices, so I'm quite confident into what I want to be in the future. So I like to be a video analyst or a data analyst, and potentially for my club in the MLS, Montreal, CF Montreal,
Yeah.
and why not even more later? But that's just what I want to do in the next few years from now.
Could you see yourself moving to Europe and trying your luck there?
Yeah, it will be fun,
Yeah, perfect.
especially since I lived a lot in Paris before. So if I could ever go live in Paris, it would be perfect.
Perfect. Get a job at PSG.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why not? Or Paris FC, the League Two club.
Yeah. So that was pretty much the pod. If you want to say where people could find you if they watch the pod.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my social media are Gasipo, uh, opinions on both Twitter and Instagram. You should find me pretty easily. I don't think that there are a lot of people called Gasipo over there.
I hope everyone watching enjoyed the pod. And go follow Gasipo on all his socials. The links will be down in the description below. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.